thank you for the time. I'm really excited about this particular masterclass because I think that this is a piece of, business leadership, kind of just life skills that tend to often go by the wayside. And specifically, I am literally right this second in the process of dealing with a very fiery and heated situation. And thankfully, I have ChatGPT to help me with that. But also, I think that, being able to breathe through some of these things and to learn how to utilize my breath, to utilize the energetics and all of these kind of components to not react emotionally and to kind of learn to dim that fire so that it can be a much more rational response. And I think it's really interesting specifically for women because women respond to things emotionally by nature. And
think like a man.
Think like a man. Think like a man. But I think that that's accurate. I mean, I think it's actual and accurate in that specifically for women where we are led through our emotions. And it's really difficult for us to disconnect from that and to be able to say, I don't need to be emotional about this. I need to be pragmatic about this. And I need to be relational about this. Like, Carrie and I were talking offline about this particular situation. And she was like, if you were two men, this wouldn't even be a conversation the way it's a conversation. And so I think that while my efforts are not to remove our feminine power from the conversation, I think it's super important for us, particularly in business and just in life, to learn how to tame that so that we can operate from a place of truth and function as opposed to a place from emotion and reactivity. And I think that a lot of what you'll be guiding us through today is kind of learning how to achieve that within ourselves so that we lead from our highest selves as opposed to our angry, emotional, triggered selves. That's the goal. So,
yeah.
So with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I'm Kirstie, and I want to start us dropping in with a meditation, but I want to share, I pulled a card for this masterclass, and it could not be more perfect for the topic that we'll be talking about. It says hearing guidance. So getting in touch with the upper realms of ourselves is kind of where we're going so that we can live in this world with guidance and not that reactive fire that just makes us want to when things come up. So I'll have you start with closing your eyes. And just start to notice what's present right here and right now. Right? Notice your breath. Notice the pace of it. The depth of it. Can you get it all the way down beneath your belly button? Can you let go of that full exhale without any strain on it? And then bring in that full inhale. And I want you to really become present with what is here now. So what's on your heart? What's in your beautiful mind? Where are your feet? How's the back of your body? Do you feel like you want to lean back a little bit? Do you feel like you want to lean forward or just stay still? And I want you to feel the vast space above you, through your roof, the boundless space through the clouds, through the ether. And I want you to feel this beautiful tethered connection into the earth. And between those two locates you and your beating heart. This breath in your physical body. This present you here right now. So you're just familiar with this present version of you. And you start to get to this area where you can drop in deeper into yourself, into this version of you right here, right now. And then take a big breath in and a full breath out of the mouth. And so this version of you is being called to something greater. Right? This version that's on this call right now is being called to something greater, something bigger. So I want you to ask yourself, who have you been pretending to be? And this isn't to the outside world, this is to yourself. So think about where you've been playing small in your life, where you're actually choosing comfort over growth in your life. Maybe even that place in your life that you're like, someday, or I'll get to it, and that location never lives in the calendar. The place where you really make excuses in your life. And just sit with that for a moment. Don't run from it. Don't get defensive around it. Don't start to make excuses around it. Don't tune it out. Because your higher self, your connection to source, is not scared of these answers. Remember, that greater version, that bigger version of you that wants something more is not scared of this. So take a big breath in again and a full breath out. And now shift your perspective for a second and imagine yourself fully leading the exact life that you want. Whether it's extra time, extra money, extra space, extra XYZ, hold that version of you. That version of you that actually doesn't hesitate, that isn't scared, that knows with certainty that it all works out. And feel that version of you. See that version of you. What do you look like? And be that version of you right here and right now. And so for this next question, we're going to ask that this answer come in like a quiet whisper. What does this version of you, this elevated version of you, know that the present version of you doesn't know? No force, no logic. And then take this time to ask any other questions in connection. Let those answers come in softly. And take another big breath in. And a full breath out. And just stay for a moment. Just stay here. Because when we start to get into deeper connection with our higher self and with Source, we start to master ourselves. So thank yourself for just this moment, for this effort into yourself. And then slowly blink your eyes open. Start to come back. Okay. So what I want to talk about really is getting into connection with your higher self, with Source, and working without reactivity, right? So we all know this, like where does that come in is in pausing, right? And taking that extra second to sit, to ground, and to connect in, because otherwise we are just reacting to everything around us, right? So when we feel into that pause, a lot of things can happen, a lot of clarity can come out of it. Otherwise, we stay in this energy of like fire and reactivity. So this is like the most easily translated in driving, right? Is when someone cuts us off and we're like, instead of just like, cool, okay, I'm still driving, right? And what's even more interesting is that in this energy of reaction, right, leads us to, well, it is energy. So it can feel good, right? Especially if we're like calling someone out or showing something, like basically proving that you know better, that you know more. And that's energy and it feels good in the moment. But what happens when we pause, we connect and we get a message and we actually leave whatever is in this space there, right? So if it's something that we want to react to and we don't, we leave it there. What happens on the other end of it? So like think about in conversation when someone says something that might be hurtful and you don't say anything and it's left in the space. So that pause, they get to start to like, oh, maybe I was wrong or I shouldn't have said that. And it's not that we're trying to get another response from them, right? We're just letting it simmer, really. But when we pause and we take this in as like a lesson, right? We can see, like, what can I learn from this moment without reacting? And we can even ask, start to connect in, like, what is the message here? Why is this reaction or this trigger wanting to come out? And then this is where like the light starts to come in, the clarity starts to come in, because we have a second to pause, to connect, to see that answer. And it's not even so much of seeing this answer of like, what do I need to do? Or maybe not what do I need to do, but we can ask, right? Show me, guide me, teach me how to respond to this from our higher self, from Source, instead of just here in our 3D ego life saying like, this is what you should know. This is what you don't know. Here's what I'm going to tell you that I know from my own experience, because that's where we're living from right here, right? Is in our ego, in our experience. I know everything that I know, and I will tell you everything that I know. So pausing, right? And getting that energy from our higher self, taking those messages, and then coming back in a different energy that's not reaction, that's actually more probably loving, probably more centered, the way you felt in that meditation after I asked you those questions of like, okay, I can drop in and get this message without the excuse of like, this is why I do X, Y, and Z, you know? And what's really interesting too, well, I'll share a story for a second. So when we don't pause, okay, this is the story I want to share. I had this scenario the other day and I called Heather because I wanted to vent, right? Something happened that triggered me and I wanted to vent about it. So I was in my reactive energy, right? I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to show this person. Feels good, right? It's energy moving. And I get off the phone with Heather. She like supports me in all my decisions, which is great, right? And then I sit with it myself and I just pause. And I'm like, no, that's not the answer. The reaction is not the answer, right? In fact, what this external energy is actually trying to teach me is to stay the course, is to let this person, I thought this person was like copying me, taking from me, right? This lacking energy is taking from me. And so I wanted to block them on everything. I was like, total protection mode. I don't want them to see anything that I'm doing. And instead, it's like, no, what I'm doing matters. What I'm doing is so right that maybe it's inspiring somebody else. And so instead of, you can't see what I'm doing, right? It really gently turned into like, let them see everything and actually let them take everything. Because even if they used my exact words, right? The exact verbiage, let's say they use the same everything that I'm doing, it's not the same because it's not me, right? It's them. And we need more of this in the world, right? We need more support in women and not cutting off and shaming and blaming and all this. So when I sat with myself, the message was like, no, don't block this person. In fact, let them learn from you if they want to learn from you, and maybe take it as a compliment that they're inspired. And also, it might not be you that inspires them. Like that's my ego coming in like, this is mine. It might not be. They could have thought that on their own. So that pause, that energetic shift from like, this is what I'm going to do to like, just be with it for a moment and see what comes out of it and connect in and ask that question instead of like just fueling the fire, because that's what I was doing, right? I call my friend like, yeah, let me tell you about this, right? Just like throwing gas on the fire over and over again, when really I just need to pause and be with it and ask, like, what is it? Show me what's here right now. And the interesting thing about energy, and especially when we relate it into leadership, into business, into every aspect of our lives, is that it's all connecting and translating. So if my energy is off in relationship here, right? If I'm feeling triggered by one person, it's definitely showing up in another area of my life, right? This is like, if I'm not okay with my partner, if I'm like super reactive with him, but then leading these beautiful workshops, let's say they're empty, right? I have so much to share. I have so much to offer, but my energy is so reactive with this other person, then that's the energy that these people feel in that workshop, right? That's like, they're like, I'm not signing up for that. There's something off, you know? Like it's all translated. So if in this area of my life where our partners are our biggest mirrors, our biggest triggers, right? They are the ones showing us. My teacher says like God speaks through your partner. That's where the messages come in. Like the deepest, darkest, I'm going to hit you where it hurts messages come through your partner. And that's the biggest work that we have. So if that comes through my partner and my energy is reactive towards him, then everybody else feels that energy also in my life. So if I can take that same message and not react and pause when I'm with him, when I am so triggered, then everything in my life, right? Every other offering starts to kind of flow with ease because it's all translated, transmuted into each other. So I think one more thing that I want to say about that too is I think a lot of times when we are in connection with our higher self and with source, it can be easy to say or to ask for something, right? I need this extra time. I need this extra money. I need this deal to go through. I need this to change. So, what are we doing when we're asking, like, for this thing to happen? Is it's basically telling the universe, like, I can't do it. I can't make it happen. And I'm not going to make it happen because this energy is lacking. So instead, when we're in that conversation and we're in connection, it's show me the way to change this. Teach me what I need to do to make this flow. Guide me in the ways that I can change myself so that it reflects in something else instead of just make this happen, right? Like this is the power of prayer. A lot of times when people pray, like take this away, take this pain away. Instead, like show me how I can change to then resolve this, how I can do the work on myself to make this better, to get more time, to get more space, to grow my offering, to whatever it is, right? It starts right here with us. What do you guys think?
I mean, I'll jump into that because it's the timing of all of this for me specifically in dealing with this really challenging situation. There's my immediate reaction is, but what about my value? What about my value? And like you were talking about, your situation specifically feeling like someone's copying you or whatever. And I think obviously as I'm speaking it out loud, that is such a connection to my ego, as opposed to really recognizing that my value could be reframed. And it could be that my value is in supporting and providing positive energy to a situation that, in my opinion, a person doesn't necessarily deserve it. But does that equate to my value? And where do you put that differentiator? So, you're able to say, it's okay if somebody wants to copy you. In my particular situation, it's okay if I give assets to this person. And maybe the value to myself is that it has to do with knowing that I am putting out positive energy around this particular situation as opposed to living in my ego about it. But with that said, when you're dealing with business, and I think that that's where it gets really challenging, is that it's not necessarily about my ego as much as the true value that I'm bringing to the partnership, and the fact that I don't want to walk away from that. So kind of where do you put that? How do you
Mhm.
say, okay, well, if I'm in my highest self and I can recognize, like, I can let this go, but really, I don't want to let it go because business wise, I've built a lot of these things and I've done a lot of this stuff. And so, I guess that's the question. It's like, where do you, where do you put your business, which is not, which is business?
Mhm.
So, like, there's this kind of, it feels like there's a disconnect between where you can exist in your highest level of yourself versus how you conduct yourself in business, which is very ego driven, but also real for
Yeah.
your financial aspects, for what you've invested, for time, all of those things. So that is my question. I don't know if anyone else has one.
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting because I think business and spirituality have to like merge, right? So, my question to you would be two things, like lack and trust. So, like, does it feel like when you're like, what about my value in this? Does that feel like you're coming from a place of lack? Or is it like a fear driven thing? Or, like, yes, right, you're saying it's ego, but like, is it like, I need more information? Like, does it feel like it's coming from a place of lack? Like, I'm not going to get something out of this.
Mhm.
Okay. So, I think there's two things here to look at. When we're coming from a place of lack, right? We need to get to a place of light. So we can give with trust, right? Like, okay, I will trust that in this partnership, this company, this business, that if I give over this value, me, assets, whatever, that I will trust you to do what's best for the company, for everyone involved, and surrender that to you, knowing that something's going to come back to me, right? That something's going to be good for everyone. Or I withdraw my assets, because that is also like we can do everything we can, right? We can do all of the work and we can stand up for ourselves even because it's not like we're just like, oh, I'm giving it all over. Here we go. It's like when I check in and I hear like, okay, I can trust this or this is not the right thing, you know? So can we give over that value and even probably say to those people, I am trusting you. Like I'm giving you all of this because I trust that what you're going to do is going to be in the benefit of everyone, not just you. Or is it like, no, I don't trust this and I'm fully withdrawing and going a different direction? You're like, neither one of those work.
Well, but to be honest, it's like a combination of both things
Mm-hmm.
because, it's a separation of a partnership that it bums me out that it has to be separated, but it does for my own personal well-being and for the fact there's just like it's deeply rooted in things that are out of my control and and I've done everything that I can to support the partnership multiple times. And at the end of the day, the decisions of the person specifically are hers and not in my control at all. And so I just have to protect myself through this process because there is a lot that I've invested. There is a lot of time. There is a lot of energy. And, I can't keep giving and giving and giving and accepting what is the inevitable. And so I have to pull away from this partnership. I mean, I've offered support. I've offered continued support. I want this person to be successful. It has nothing to do with any of that. It's just now a matter of like how to define how much of what I've worked on do I give to her, as opposed to demand at least some sort of compensation for it somehow in the long run, whatever that is. And so, it's sort of is looking at it from a perspective of the balance between the value and the pulling it all back, like it's both of those things at once.
Yeah. So like, are you trying to get to like a specific number?
Yes. I mean, in theory, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So like our logical brains, right, want to break it all up, like tit for tat on each thing. And when you sit, and I'm sure you've already done this, but when you sit with yourself and you start to connect, like, can you ask for what is right? Like, what would feel right for you and what would feel fair to offer this other person?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I've kind of offered that to her.
Mm-hmm.
Her response is, of course, that's not what I think. Here's what I think you're worth, which is far below the number that I had asked for. So the intention on her side, and that's the thing, is that I think that that's where this gets difficult and challenging, is that in these particular circumstances, globally speaking, I can have the intention of saying, I trust that I'm going to provide this to you to do what's in the best interests of the whole. But the other person on the other side of that is like, cool, but I am only going to give a shit about myself. I mean, that's the disconnect, is like, I can live in knowing that I'm willing to say, like, I will do this and I will hand you this in trust that you will take this effort and this work and do the best that you can with it. But it lands on, this is mine. And I rightfully own this because I helped you. I helped come up with the idea. So this is mine and I'm owed it. It's like, how do you negotiate with a child, right? Like, it's the same thing. I mean, it literally is like, how do you negotiate with a toddler? It's
Right.
mine,
You're either giving in or holding a boundary. Yeah.
And so, and that's something for me. I'm like, boundaries are not my strong suit. So perhaps this is the lesson for me of learning that it's better to stay in my boundaries and to say, this really doesn't feel good to me, and I'm not going to capitulate just for ease, just because I feel like I want to be a good person, like, again, and that's all these things also. It's like, where do these boundaries live inside of like living in your highest self and wanting to give over trust and all of these things? So like and that's where it gets confusing for me personally, is like giving everything over for the sake of like, it doesn't actually really matter to me in the grand scope of life, but it matters to me right now. And so living in my boundary and staying in that is something that is my challenge, I guess.
I know, like from the work that we've done together, that is your work.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're like totally connected with our higher self, right? And we know, like I've given what I think is correct, what I think is right, what feels right in my body. And that's like, I mean, I think this is the hard part in business. It's like you're putting that in the space and you're leaving it there, right? And of course, like pride and ego comes in because it's like, this is my intellectual property, right? I did this work for you and I'm owed something back for it. And so I think in your highest self and in the good of all, you also have to come back to your backbone and say, like, this is it. You know, this is actually what feels good for me. And if that doesn't feel good for you, then like we're going to get a third party involved and have a lawyer take a look at it. Like, because you can only go back and forth so much, right?
Yeah.
It's like at some point it just needs to be out there. This is what feels good. Past that, like we cannot continue to essentially argue over worth.
Right.
Because you know your worth. And if someone's not willing to pay you that, you would be done with them already. You know, it's like you're not discounting yourself over and over again. That's not right. So I would imagine that when you check in with yourself and it's like this doesn't feel right, to basically back down, that's when you just leave it in the space, you know. And that's also a gift. Like that is not only telling you and your body and your nervous system that like there's no threat, I can be this person, and also telling the universe like I will not cave in for every person. Right? Like you are walking with source. You are walking with your higher self. You are not just a doormat. That is not what this is. That's not at all what the universe wants for you. You know, you can give to your capacity and that's beautiful. And you can trust to that level of giving. And also you have to stay clear and centered with like, this is it. This is what I'm willing to offer. And so really when you hold that boundary, you're also letting her realize like, oh, maybe I can hold a boundary too. And maybe it's going to be with you. But that's where maybe, you know, a third party would definitely come in and help with those logical decisions on what's owed to who.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to add on this, just coming from somebody that knows the details of this, like when you gave the two separate scenarios of like either you're going to give and trust this person, or you know, you have your basically contractual, like this is what I have, this is what you can give me in return. This person in particular is a not to be trusted person. She has proven that. She thinks of herself and I think we all come across people like this, somebody that recognizes they can pull on your heartstrings and use that against you. And this is one of those situations where she knows Gabri leads more emotionally and she's trying to use that against her. So I think it's tough as women working in business when, you know, we can tend to feel guilty or we want to give or we want to be helpful, and sometimes to the detriment of ourselves, you know. And just I think you laid it out perfectly as far as like, you know, living to your highest self, but also being protectful of yourself and what you have to offer, and not just thinking, oh, whatever, I just want this to go away, so here, have it all.
Yeah, I think when you're coming from a place of, and really there's like a fine line here of like the ego saying like, no, you can't have it because it's mine versus, and like that's lack, right? Like I'm scared you're going to take it versus I'm protecting what I've built.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely, that's yours. You built it, you know?
Yes.
Intellectual property is a thing, you know? It's like,
Yeah.
that's your idea. You built it. So yeah, I think boundaries are a very valid part. Um, and worth, because I think a lot of us deal with like being scared of our pricing and what we're offering and how much we're getting. And we're very quickly, I know for myself, like I'll very quickly discount something. And then I'm like, why? You know, like, why did I do that? Like, I can love this person and they can pay me full price, you know, like this is good for everyone. And so I think, yeah, like if you were to sit with your higher self, actually, I want you to close your eyes right now. Okay.
Me?
Yeah.
Other people here.
Close your eyes.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Find your feet on the floor, wherever they are. Find your breath. Imagine nobody else is watching. This is all about Gabri, right? And find that connection of that boundless space where you come from. And that connection of earth below you where you are. Your heartbeat, your breath right in the middle, here in this world. And looking for that whisper, that quiet answer that comes in. What is the right choice? I'm not second guessing any of it. And for a moment, just land in it. Whatever that answer was, just land in it, ground into it. And take a big breath in. Let it go out of the mouth. And when you're ready, share it with us.
I mean, it was like resounding. Stay the course.
Mm-hmm.
Like resounding. Like screaming from all areas. Stay the course. So I will.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a good thing, because it's not, when, I mean, and I want to like, I don't want to be the one dominating this, although I have been, but bringing it to specifically business, and it just so happens that this is an actual circumstance happening at the moment. So it's probably really helpful to have a very specific thing going on, but learning, I think, to trust that, right? To trust that whisper, to be able to say, that's the story for me in all of the circumstances, whether the circumstances are different. They're going to be different. I mean, this isn't the last time that I'm ever going to experience a circumstance that requires me to hold boundaries and do things, and learning to quiet the noise so that you can listen to those whispers, the things that are telling you, like, this is what is right for you. And it doesn't mean that I'm being a selfish person, or like whatever the other stories are that live in the noise. That's not the truth.
Yeah. And mean, I find in my personal life and knowing you, it's like we get tested with the same thing over and over again. You know, like I love um, like the universe taps you on the shoulder until she slaps you in the face,
Mhm.
right? Like we can't just give up all of ourselves. That's not helping anyone in the world, including us. So you have a backbone for a reason. Your highest self, for the greater good of everyone, needs to stay, right? You can't give everything away. And in fact, especially if someone is close to you or tugging at your heart, you can send all the love. You can still love this person and send them light and wish them success and power in business. Yes, definitely. And also, like you said, stay your course, right? Chop wood, carry water, like keep going.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's also like the very uncomfortable part of spirituality is actually like, um, I matter more. You are the most important thing in your life. So you need to protect yourself, right? You know that you're not coming from a place of lack. Like you built this. So protection is actually a good feeling here, right? Like you birthed the creation, just like you would protect your child. You're not just going to like hand it over to someone else if that doesn't feel right for you.
Yeah.
That was just one other piece I was going to add too. Not that I like know all things, but as well as tapping into source, I just like also feel things in my body a lot. So like a lot of times when I'm asking those questions, I will check in physically, noticing how I feel too, because I feel like a lot of times my body will give me the answer as well.
Yeah, I mean, definitely your intuition, your knowing, right, is going to come through physically. Like the message comes in, however you will receive it. So a lot of times, right, that whisper is easy to hear. But if the ego is louder and we're tuning out that whisper, then the body is going to start talking, or things in our spaces are going to start talking, you know? Um, so, yeah. And I want to offer one more thing is like, if you do feel stuck, right, or like you do need to do something else, like you've given this over, right? This is my final answer, basically. Then checking in with source and asking, like, show me a different perspective or show me a different route where this gets easier, where this gets simpler. Instead of like logically trying to say like, I'm gonna go ask ChatGPT, which I know is a good resource. You are already resourced to check in as well. Say like, how can I simplify this? And just notice. Like I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same answer that ChatGPT gave you. You know, because there's
Probably.
a little bit of
Mhm.
connection in that mirroring of like what you would hear and how the technology knows you.
So the takeaways being that it's no, in business, in our business lives, like there's no, I guess we can't necessarily silo it. It's which I think sometimes is where I maybe get tripped up. And again, I think because I'm female, which I do think is a different perspective, because we as women tend to lead emotionally as opposed to just saying, look, I'm just tapping in here And I can't silo my business life, my personal life, my parenting life. Like there's no silos if we're just existing in our connection. That is our focus. It doesn't have to be that like this is who I am as a business person, this is who I am as a mom, this is, like we don't I don't think that we need I do that a lot. It's like separate myself out into these different like units of human. And I think it can all just be tied into one.
I think it's the most beautiful thing, and this is from my own path of being, for a lot of my life, a total chameleon. Like walk in a room and, oh, I'm just going to flow with this. And instead, now being my fullest, wholest self in every room that I walk into, even if I don't fucking fit in there, it's like, this is still me. This is still what you're going to get in every aspect of my life, And to me, that gives a greater level of trust with myself and a greater level of love with myself. And also, I think lets people know that there's a little bit like a sturdy feeling. Like I'm not gonna like flip flop or be wishy washy in showing up in a different part of life, right? It's like there's trust and consistency there, and like you're saying, like this is the still, you can't compartmentalize this and this and this. It's like you are all of this. That's your whole self in every part of you and all of your being. You're all these things wrapped up in one. That is your multifaceted self, and it's so beautiful. And that's actually why people come to you wanting you to like partner with them and do business with them, right? Because you have all of this, and it's so incredible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And, somebody else's love for themselves is not my responsibility. I think that I often take that on, but it's not my job.
Mm-mm. You're your own
Yeah.
job. You
I have
got enough
plenty.
for yourself.
I have a lot. I am a full-time job.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is an offering in itself. Like, I can take care of me, I can stand up for myself. That is already a gift to that person. Like, the next time this happens in their life, because it's probably not going to be the last, like, you have taught them to step into this power a little bit more by staying in your own, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I think power dynamics are also a really interesting thing and something that, we don't address enough. It's that, and that's living in the ego, obviously, but you mentioned the power dynamics, and it is something that I think is real in business, especially where it's like, who has, when you're negotiating deals, when you're thinking of anything, like who has the upper hand? And so being able to tap into your highest version of yourself and truly listening to what it is that you want, I think makes those negotiations, it removes the power dynamic because you're just like, this is what's going to work for me. And if that doesn't work for you, that's okay. I'm not going to give over that part of myself to make you comfortable. That's yours to deal with. I'm going to live in my own space and my own truth. And it kind of like removes that whole concept of the power dynamic, because if you stay in yours, there is no dynamic.
Yeah. Use this practice next time something happens where you're like, we're going into negotiation, right? Check into your higher self, connect with source, and just hold this mantra power light that I am the most powerful person in the room. And I am open to everyone else, but I am the most powerful person in the room. And just watch how that like mirrors back to you in your situation. So let's say you go into negotiation with this woman, you are the most powerful person in the room. Like that is the energy that you are holding. You're open, right? But you are not backing down. You are not a doormat. You're holding the power. And watch the mirroring that happens with that.
Okay. Okay, done. Check.
Do it. You could also
will.
walk in like I'm the hottest person in the room, you know, but you don't need that. You're already hot. So the most powerful, open, but you're holding it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no question. Because it's all energy, right? Like it's all reflected. Just like I was saying in the beginning, if this is unclear in our life, then this becomes unclear. So if you hold that certainty, like with this woman that you're dealing with, this certainty that you are the most powerful, that you're going to get what you want because this is what is it. That's it. Like, see if that can be reflected instead of coming from it of like this lack. I don't know. This is what she wants. I feel bad. No. Right? Like tune in to that higher version of you that stays the course, that does not back down, and hold it. Hold that energy instead of letting all those limiting beliefs come in, and just see what happens.
I have to go. I have another Zoom call at 11. So thank you.
Yes, I mean, it's so funny, the timing of this. This was not meant to be all about
It was perfect.
this particular situation, but I think it also can be very helpful to anybody that would want to watch this, like just seeing how it actually relates very specifically to a situation that I think we all find ourselves in. I mean, you were talking about it earlier. You know, you had a specific situation where you felt someone was copying you and this, and it's like, and we all have those moments in our lives where we can see, wait, I like, this doesn't feel right. And someone's trying to wrong me, or I am not being valued in the way that I want to feel valued. And all of these things that live so externally
or the very opposite of feeling like I have to do something for them to make them feel better.
Totally.
Yeah. So I think that, you know, we all have those every single day. We come across those circumstances literally every single day. And sometimes they're really glaring because there's actual results that need to come from it that are bigger, like in this particular situation. But I think it's really learning to stay in that. I mean, that's the practice, right? It's learning to stay in that no matter what, and leading through that connection. You know, I mean, and it's such a great visual, your meditation, because I really connected with that and felt that, like feeling my feet grounded, and there's all of this underneath me and this infinity above me, and I'm the heartbeat in the middle. Like that makes so much visual sense to me, where it's like, yeah, like there, you know, we all possess this thing that goes so beyond us, but when we can channel what that is telling us, it's really powerful because it truly lives within our heart space.
Yeah, you're so connected, right? We're so connected, and yet we're right here.
Yeah.
You're holding the power, you know?
Well, this was awesome. Thank you so, so much for this. This was like amazing, the timing. And I apologize, Carrie, if I overran you. but
No,
you know,
I feel like it was, you know, be able to put all of this into good context
mhm.
in the moment. I mean, that's what these are supposed to be for too, is to see in the real moment of what's going on in somebody's life and how it can actually be applied. So I think it worked out perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. This was
Yeah.
awesome. It was lovely to be able to spend time with you today.
Yeah. I love you.
Love
Thank
it.
you.
I love you. You're
It was
so
very nice to meet
amazing.
you, Kirstie. Kirstie.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good day, y'all.
Bye.